All right, good day, Latin II. We are here in October. Thank you to Ms. Habriel for filling in last week, and she might be able to help you over these next 2 weeks a little bit as well. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to open up your grammar book to page 109. All right, so here's your grammar book. Open up to 109, paragraph 546 on purpose clauses. I just want to make sure that we review what we've covered so far in lessons 22 and 23, and that is that purpose clauses can be introduced by ut or ne. And again, notice the examples here. Tense, after a primary tense, what are the primary tenses? Anything that happens now or in the future. So it's present, future, and future perfect. What are the secondary tenses? Anything that happens in the past. So that would be your imperfect, your perfect, and your pluperfect. Okay? So a primary tense, you're going to use a present subjunctive for the purpose clause. A secondary tense, things that happen in the past, you're going to use an imperfect tense for the purpose clause. And again, notice the strategy here. Translate everything before the ut or the ne, because that's your main clause, and that can exist as a independent clause, a separate sentence, and then translate everything with a that or so that or in order to after the ut or ne. Okay, so just remember that, and hopefully that'll help you. Now, I'd also like you to turn to page 77, and we're going to review the present tense subjunctive of sum, and then we're going to introduce the imperfect subjunctive of sum, because again, you're going to want to know how to use the imperfect subjunctive when you have these secondary tenses in the main clause, these past tense. So as an example, he fortified the camp in order that it might be safe. Okay, it might be safe. So you would have the esset, okay, third person singular form of subjunctive form of sum, safe. What is that? Tuta. Okay. And actually, if it's a camp, it'd be plural, right? Essent, tuta. So we've got simsisit, simasitasint. That is the imperfect. No, I'm sorry, the present of sum. Sumus has to sunt. They all start with an S. They're all using a distinctive I to indicate the subjunctive. And then the imperfect subjunctive is just the same way we formed the imperfect subjunctives for laudo, laudare, right? You take the second principal part, laudare, mittere, and then you add the MST, mustis, unt. So here you've got essem, essays, esset, essemus, essetus, essent. Okay? So you've got that S, or you got essay, which is the, to be. It's the infinitive form of sum esse fui futurus, and then you just add the MST mustis unt to indicate your person and number. Okay, so that's going to come up here in section 3 of lesson 23. So let's turn to page 241. Page 241. And first we're going to look at adjectives used as nouns. And then imperfect subjunctives. So again, adjectives used as noun, it's paragraph 845 in your grammar, 845. So that is found on page 195. Okay. So think here, fortuna fortes adjuvat. Fortuna fortes adjuvat. Fortune favors the bold. Fortune favors the brave. Okay, so we're taking the adjective fortis and we're using it now as a noun to describe a group of people. So instead of saying, um, you know, viri fortes, the brave men, we're just using fortes as a way to describe those men: the brave, the bold, the prepared, whatever it is that you can take an adjective and turn it into a noun. Okay, so um, in the neuter, nominative, and accusative plural, okay, he speaks the truth, vere, vere. So you've got the veris, vera, verum. This is the nominative, this is the accusative neuter plural, right? And so that's uh, the adjective being used as a as a noun. All right, new vocabulary. And just a reminder that we are going to have a Unit 6 vocabulary quiz probably next week. So that'll be lessons 22, 23, 24. I believe I've already posted a Quizlet on the LMS page so that you can start using that to review these. Anyway, we've got labor, laboris. What declension noun is that? It is a third declension, right? Any genitive that ends in is is third declension. Labor, laboris. Ordo, ordinus. Again, third declension. Obsus, obsidus. Notice here that the the gender here is marked with a C, meaning it can be either masculine or feminine, depending on whether it's referring to a group of male hostages or female hostages. And if it's a mixed group, just treat it as a masculine, okay, not a neuter. But anyway, that's common gender. And then we have a preposition inter, which means between or among. So think of an interstate. An interstate highway goes between two states, as opposed to an intrastate that stays within a state. So an interstate highway, for instance, 95, right? It goes all the way down the East Coast from Maine all the way down to Florida. So that's an interstate. And then statum is an adverb meaning at once. So stat, you'll sometimes hear in an ER room. I need the doctor stat, at once, immediately. Okay, and it's related to the word stand, sto stare. And then some review vocabulary: sum esse fui, absum abesse, and ab. So again, remember that ab has two different meanings and two very different uses. If it's used with a passive verb, it's referring to the ablative of agent, okay? The camp was built by the Romans, a Romanis, okay? That's an ablative of agent. But when it's used to mean from or away from, right? Ab, think of Aboriginal, the people that came from the early times, okay? The old Indians in Australia are called the Aborigines, okay? All right, so a fairly short lesson today. You have this idiom study, and it's just showing you that sometimes, even though for the most part when you're doing beginning language study you want to translate very literally, you also want to pick up on idioms. So, here's an example of an idiom that you've had in this book. So, impetum fecerunt. Impetum fecerunt. You've seen that all the time. They made an attack. Okay. So in fact, we've seen that much more frequently than saying they attacked. Okay. Appunyaverunt. Okay. Appunyaverunt. Usually it's they made an attack. Impetum fecerunt. In hostes, against the enemy. In Gallias, or Gallios, against the Gauls. In Romanus, against the Romans. Okay? So here's an idiom about the exchange of hostages. Okay, obsides inter nos damus. So literally, we are giving hostages among ourselves, but better, we are exchanging hostages with each other. We are exchanging hostages. All right. And this is going to be pretty important because now that they've introduced this word, again, think about the Gallic Wars, think about the context of so many of these sentences you're translated. Not only would they kill people, but they would capture people. And often they would try to capture very valuable people, like the family of the Duke, the Dukes, or the family of the princeps, the princes and leaders, and they would exchange them, these hostages, for money, for land. Okay, so you're going to see this word obsides a lot. And remember, it's third declension, so that obsides could be the nominative, like the hostages were exchanged by the Romans, or it could be the accusative, they exchanged the hostages, and it's going to be the same form, obsides. Okay? All right. So let's look at exercise 260. Your homework is going to be, so first of all, you need to turn in what was due today, which was exercise 258. 258. Oh, I take that back. It was 256. 1 to 3. Okay, 256. And again, this was about the secondary tenses. So, here's 256, number 5, just as an example. Jesus Christus Dei filius in mundum venit, et vitam et salutam nobis daret. So Jesus Christ, the Son of God, came. So that's a perfect of venio. Okay, venio, venire, venit, or veni. Okay, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, came into the world. In plus the accusative. Okay, in plus the accusative is not going to mean in; it's going to mean into, upon, against. He came into the world, ut vitam et salutem nobis daret, in order that he might give us. And again, daret here is do, dari. It's the imperfect subjunctive, in order that he might give to us. Again, nobis, no L. Stop confusing nobilis with nobis. You guys have to get this down correctly. Too many of you are still confusing nobis with nobilis, in order that he might give to us life and salvation. Those are accusative singular nouns. Jesus Christ came into the world in order that he might give to us life and salvation. All right. Now, over here in exercise 260, and your homework is going to be the even numbers of exercise 260. So let's look at number 1, an odd number. Laudaterna Deus ab omnibus sanctis. So the first thing I want you to do is identify the verb, and I want you to parse it for me. All right, so it's laudaterna, and that is third person, singular, present, passive. Third person, singular, passive, present. So what's going to be the subject? You got to have a singular subject. It's going to be Deus, right? So is God praised, right? Is God praised? Passive verb. Ab omnibus sanctis. So here, we have an adjective being used as a noun. An adjective, and what is it? It's the adjective sanctus. Sanctus, sancta, sanctum, and it's being used as an ablative of agent. Okay? So it basically means holy ones, or in this case, holy men. Okay? Is God praised by all holy men, or all holy ones, all saints, right? We have All Saints Day coming up on November 1st. By the way, Halloween, right? All Hallows, All Saints Eve. Hallowed be thy name, Halloween, All Saints Eve. So that's coming up on October 31st, and the next day is All Saints Day, All Hallows Day. So again, number 3, you've got the same thing happening. You've got an adjective being used as a noun. Okay. Fortes propter metum non cadunt. All right, so cadunt comes from like cease or surrender. The brave ones, the strong ones, do not give way on account of fear. Okay, the brave ones do not give way on account of fear. All right, so here, number 5, we have an example of the imperfect use of sum, right? Esset, so that's in the purpose clause. So again, let's first identify the main clause. Cesar multa bella gessit. Cesar multa bella gessit, all right? So where does gessit come from? Does anybody know? Comes from gero. Gero, it's one of those not improper, irregular verb, okay? So it's gero gessit. So that's the perfect form. So in other words, see, and when you use it with bella, it means something like wage, right? Wage war. So Caesar waged many wars. Why? Ut, in order that, esset, third person singular, imperfect subjunctive mood of sum, in order that he might be imperator, which probably here means emperor, and princeps, chief. Okay? He didn't just wage these wars because he hated the Gauls. He waged these wars because he wanted to increase his power and his legitimacy and to get all of his soldiers to follow him crossing the Rubicon so that he could take over, basically. And we'll get to this actually in our history class. You know, he's the guy who essentially transforms the Republic, the Res Publica, into the Imperium, into the empire. Okay? So Caesar waged many wars in order that, secondary tense in the main clause, he used the imperfect, in order that he might become, in order that he might be imperator et princeps. All right, how about number 11? Why don't you take a few minutes to try to do number 11 together as a class? Legatus in agro statum contendit ne longa e proelio abessit. All right, did you find the main clause? Again, it's everything before the ne. Everything before the ne. Legatus in agro statum contendit. The lieutenant hurried into the fields. Immediately hurried, right? Statum. That's the new vocabulary. Stat. Get to the emergency, get to the ER, stat. Statum. The lieutenant immediately hurried into the fields, lest longa aproilio abessit. So again, here's an imperfect subjunctive of absum. Lest he be away long from the battle. Lest he be away long from the battle. Okay. Now, how about number 17? Let's try that one as a class. We'll finish up here. Duces inter se in concilio de re gravi agunt. All right. So no purpose clause, no subjunctives here. But you do have a particular kind of pronoun. Can anybody identify it? You have reflexive pronoun, inter se. And again, here's the new preposition, inter. Okay, between or among themselves. So the leaders treat, right? Agunt has this sense with political figures about discussing, right? Whether it's a senatus, whether it's leaders, whether it's Caesar and his advisors, and the generals, the imperatores. So the leaders treated among themselves in council, concilio, about re gravi, about. So here we've got a ablative, right? Prepositions always take what two cases? Accusative or ablative. About a serious matter, or the serious matter, or the grave, the heavy matter. Okay? Caesar's coming. He's killing our people. He's burning our villages. The leaders, the Gaul leaders, are treating among themselves about this serious matter. What are they going to do? Are they going to run away? Okay? So I want you to do 260 even and 262. I want you to review ablative of means, ablative of agent, and those go back to what? Lesson 17, 18, 19, and the primary tenses, which again are the ones that take place now or in the future. All right? All right, Lord willing, I will see you on Thursday. Have a great day. God bless.